I am seated in everyone's heart. And from me come remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness. Whatever happened had taken place under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore there was no cause to be sorry or ashamed. Although Lord Shiva is never defeated by anyone, when defeated by Lord Vishnu, he felt proud that he had such an exalted and powerful master. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananchana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunadhanitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchagalpadarubhyascha Kripasindhubhye vacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhutair Mahabhir Yema Puravabhu Nirmayashede Yadamusha Purusha Bhungte Gunan Shodashatmaka Soran Krishishta Bhagavan Vacham Sime. Hare Krishna. I think both of you will have to be separated. You may have to go to your sister and you have to go to your dad. A lot of conference is going on right in the front. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. It's a very interesting section of Bhagavatam, just like any other section. Because Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is a loving exchange between the Supreme Lord and his devotees and among his devotees. So the entire Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is about Bhagavan and Bhagavatas. So the Supreme Lord as well as his amazing pure devotees. So generally the loving exchange between the Lord and his devotees are easier to understand and are obvious. For example, if you pick 10 cantos of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, the Lord's dealings with his Gopa friends or Gopikas or his father, his mother, very easy to understand. They are really loving dealings and it's very obvious. However, some pastimes can be a bit cryptic, difficult to understand. One of those pastimes is here. We have the pastime of Lord Shiva and Mohini Murti. Why is it so? Because we all heard the pastime that Lord Shiva got bewildered seeing the beautiful form of Mohini Murti, the female form of Supreme Lord Vishnu. And he went through such an embarrassing situation as it is mentioned in previous verses. He was drawn here and there by Mohini Murti. He felt lusty and not normal, and he was dragged here and there among the great sages and his own disciples. And after all this, Lord Shiva was unagitated and unashamed. So here, as it is mentioned here, aviklavam and avridam. Vrida means shyness. That is called vrida. Avrida. Avrida. Lord Shiva didn't have any shame, and he was not agitated. He didn't feel anything. He didn't have any remorse. He felt very happy for being disturbed by the Supreme Lord. Lord Shiva is greatest yogi. He is greatest devotee. Vaishnavanam yatha Shambhu. So the qualification of a yogi is control of the senses. Without control of the senses, he is not a yogi. As we know, if one eats one time is considered yogi, twice bhogi, more rogi. So yogi is very controlled, not in Krishna consciousness. The Bhakti yogi is different. Mahaprabhu taught, Srila Prabhupada taught chanting, dancing and feasting, so it's okay. But otherwise, a yogi definition is sense control. Having that, here Lord Shiva is the supreme yogi and his senses got completely bewildered and he acted in an inappropriate fashion in front of his followers. Interestingly enough, he was unashamed and he was unembarrassed, but the Supreme Lord was Parama Prita, not just Prita. Prita means pleased. Parama Prita means it is the epitome of his pleasure. Seeing Lord Shiva unashamed and unagitated, even after going through such an embarrassing situation. Can you imagine this? So this is such a loving exchange between Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu. So we certainly need the eyes of commentary and Shastra to really fathom how it is a loving exchange. And the Lord was very pleased because he understood Lord Shiva's mind. And what is in Lord Shiva's mind? I got defeated by my master. I have such a befitting master. So this is the consciousness of Lord Shiva, and for that Lord Shiva is being glorified. Similarly, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam has such incidents. Lord Brahma got completely bewildered by Krishna. How can Krishna be the Supreme Lord? He got completely bewildered, so much so that he dared to test Krishna. He dared to take away all the calves and the cowherd boys. He stole, apparently, in one sense. In one sense he stole, in another sense he couldn't steal. If you take the version or the path that he stole or attempted to steal the calves and the cowherd boys who are the eternal associates of Krishna, it is certainly a bewilderment. Of course we know it is under the jurisdiction of Yoga Maya, but still it's a bewilderment for Lord Brahma. Who is Lord Brahma? He is a pure devotee and he is the original Founder-Acharya. Srila Prabhupada is the Founder-Acharya of ISKCON, Krishna Consciousness Society. But if you think about the Founder-Acharya of our Sampradaya, who is the Sampradaya Acharya? That is Lord Brahma. And how could he be bewildered? That can be a question mark. However, we use that to glorify Krishna. In certain other Sampradayas, they cannot really understand the bewilderment of Lord Brahma and they think, how is it possible? So they don't give commentary to 14th chapter of 10th canto. They will skip through that chapter because we don't want to discuss the bewilderment of our own Acharya. But we do accept Lord Brahma as our Acharya and we accept his bewilderment and we accept that bewilderment is not by Mahamaya but that bewilderment is by Yogamaya. So it is by the potency of the Lord and it is an arrangement of the Lord for multiple reasons. Certainly, on one level, Brahma couldn't steal the calves and the cowherd boys because they have more power than Lord Brahma himself, isn't it? How can the eternal associates of the Lord be stolen by force, by Brahma, who is not even in the spiritual world. He is in one of the universes. He has been humbled by the Lord. We know later in the pastime, in Dwaraka pastime, right? He has been humbled by the Lord. So how can he do this? Yes, so it is arrangement of the Lord. And he couldn't take cows or the cowherd boys. He couldn't take any one of them. Rather, it was only a duplicate set, Maya version. If you want to buy some products, you get the original and there is duplicate, right? Fake products are there for everything. Similarly, it was only fake products that Lord Brahma got. Later, it was resolved. Then Brahma came and he got his realization and he offered wonderful prayers. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is not complete without the prayers of Lord Brahma. Very auspicious to study prayers of Lord Brahma. I remember this was at least 17, 18 years back. One of the Purushottam month. I was thinking, okay, I want to read something special. So I thought I will read and memorize Lord Brahma's prayers. I don't think I can remember all the prayers. Some of the verses, of course, I can. It was long back. And I went through verse by verse, reading, memorizing, going through the purport. And it was a very, very amazing experience. And that's why I developed a lot of appreciation for Lord Brahma's prayers. It is comprehensive. A lot of aspects are given philosophically. In terms of pastimes, in terms of tattva, everything is so amazingly presented by Lord Brahma because he is the most intelligent person in the universe, isn't it? It's amazing realizations of Lord Brahma. So we accept the bewilderment of Lord Brahma and that we use to glorify Brahma and the devotees of the Lord. So it is an opportunity to see the greatness of residents of Vrindavan. Lord Brahma says, how can I fathom the great good fortune of residents of Vrindavan? Because even Putana was given the position in the spiritual world as a nurse. And what to speak about? How can the Lord reciprocate to the Vraja Gopikas? This is the question of Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma desired to reside in Vrindavan. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, Tarnam janur yatra vidhriyayache sadbhakta chudamanir uddhavopi in Vrindavana Ashtakam. Tarnam janu, Tarnam, Trina, you know Trina. Right? Trina means just a blade of grass. Tarnam means of the grass. Tarnam janu. Janu means birth. Tarnam janu, who decide vidhriyayache. Vidhi. Who is Vidhi? Vidhi is another name of Lord Brahma. Sadbhakta Chudamani Uddhavopi. Sadbhakta Chudamani. He is the greatest devotee in Dwaraka. He also decided Tarnam Janu. Just birth as a blade of grass. So this is the glory of Vrindavan. So we know the glory of Vrindavan. We know the glory of the devotees through this pastime and the prayers of Lord Brahma. So even though it is a bewilderment, it is instructive and it is for the glorification of the Lord as well as His devotees. So that becomes a sweet exchange. So everything in Bhagavatam in that sense is a nice exchange to glorify the Lord and His devotees. So here on the same token, Lord Shiva has been defeated very thoroughly by the Lord in a most embarrassing way, but he was not embarrassed nor ashamed. This shows the greatness of Lord Shiva as well as greatness of Lord Vishnu. Similarly, Lord Shiva has been defeated by Krishna in his pastimes. Do you know? When Lord Shiva was defeated? Banasur pastime. Yes? Lord Shiva was defeated because Lord Shiva started fighting for his devotee. I had to protect my devotee, Banasur. So Banasur, so many Banas, he has so many weapons and so many hands. And then what happened? Lord Vishnu, so actually Krishna, defeated him very thoroughly. He started chopping off all the hands. Lord Shiva, he was wielding Shivajwara. Jwara means fire, fever, everything is called high temperature, that is Jara. Shiva Jara. He released Shiva Jara. This is one of the most powerful weapons of Lord Shiva, Shiva Jara. Shiva Jara came towards Krishna. What did Krishna release instead? Vishnu Jara. It is cooling. One is heating, another is cooling. So in terms of the cooling energy of Vishnu Jara, Shiva Jara couldn't do anything, and Shiva Jara as a personality started paying obeisances and offering prayers to Krishna. And eventually Shiva couldn't do anything, and the whole pastime. Finally Lord Shiva said, at least spare him. So Krishna said, I have no intention to kill him, because he is coming in the line of Prahlad Maharaj. So I have no intention to kill him. He is coming in the line of a great devotee, my pure devotee. So I don't want to kill him, but I chopped his hands off and left him with 4 hands. That's enough. So that also shows that the supremacy of the Lord, and Lord Shiva knows that he will get defeated, but still he tried on behalf of his devotee, and he achieved his mission. What is the mission? He wanted to spare his life, and it happened anyway. And Shiva didn't mind to be defeated. Isn't it? It is so amazing. So, but these are a different energy that is working. They are pure devotees. Brahma, here Lord Shiva, we need to understand they are not under the spell of Mahamaya, but they are under the spell of Yogamaya. There is another interesting story of a devotee getting completely bewildered in the 12th canto of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Who can tell? A devotee got completely bewildered. Yeah, very good. Markandeya Rishi. Markandeya Rishi, he was in the association of Naranarayan Rishi, great sages, Naranarayan. And near his ashram, he appealed to the Lord, I have a desire, I want to see your illusory energy, Maya energy. Okay, so this is willfully asking for Maya. We shouldn't do that. Naranarayan Rishi, what did he say? So be it. And he went to Badrikashram. Lord is staying there, now also he is there. He was doing his evening puja, Markandeya Rishi. Suddenly he saw there is a flood coming. Water is increasing. And it was not normal waters. Rather, it was Pralaya. And the Pralaya water was coming so strongly. And in a few seconds he could see himself within the waves of Pralaya waters, the devastating water. Can you see? He has been tossed up and down by the waves in Pralaya, the great deluge. What can be done? He was bewildered completely. Then he was practically devastated. He didn't know what to do. He didn't have any shelter. He was just being dragged here and there. And finally, when his suffering was intense, whom did he see? Krishna, baby Krishna. Where? On the leaf of a banyan tree. What was he doing? Sucking the toe. So this is a very famous pastime, and we can see the drawing of this everywhere, right? Very beautiful description of Krishna. Padaravindena kararavindam mukharavinde viniveshayantam vadasya patrasya puteshayanam balam mukuntam manasa smarami. Padaravindena kararavindam. Kararavindena padaravindam. Using the kararavinda, using the lotus hands, padaravindam is lotus feet. Mukharavinde viniveshayantam. He pushed inside the Mukharavinda. So his hand is like a lotus, his feet is like a lotus, his mouth is like a lotus, and he is sucking. So Vatasya Patrasya Puteshayanam, on the banyan tree, the leaf of the banyan tree. Putta means almost like a concavity, like that shape is there. In that, lying down, that is Lord Krishna in bluish complexion, and Markandeya Rishi saw him. Then what happened? Do you know what happened? Yes, he was inhaling. The Lord was inhaling. Immediately, Markandeya Rishi went inside the body of Lord Krishna. He was a baby Krishna, but went inside, and inside he could see the entire universe. Then he was seeing, he was completely again bewildered, already bewildered enough in the waters of the deluge. And now, after that, he went inside, there he saw the entire universe, and there he was bewildered. And suddenly, the Lord exhaled, and Markandeya Rishi came out. And he was in the water. And then he realized this is the Supreme Lord. And when he saw the Supreme Lord, what did he want to do? Baby Krishna, right in front of you. What do you feel like? Overwhelmed, and out of love he wanted to embrace him. He wanted to just embrace him. He went like that, then what happened? Gone, disappeared. The Lord disappeared. Pralaya waters disappeared. Banyan tree disappeared. Where was he? He was in this ashram, everything normal as it is. Then he understood, okay, this is illusion. So this is the arrangement of the Lord. He saw Mahamaya. But he was protected. Because who sanctioned it? Supreme Lord himself sanctioned it. So he was protected. Then he understood, oh, this is called bewilderment. So there are bewilderments in different levels. So this is the Lord's bewilderment. The bewilderment arranged directly by the Lord to his pure devotees. And so they don't forget Krishna. After that, their attraction for Krishna increases. This is Yogamaya potency. They don't get bewildered like us. Srila Prabhupada, he wanted to be a rich man and wanted to spread Krishna consciousness. Very sublime desire. And he built his business career. He became rich. Then Krishna took away everything. Right? So his idea was, I will go as a rich man. I will preach Krishna consciousness, because if I am a rich man, people will respect me, and then my message will have value. But his plans were completely shattered. You remember in Lilamrita, he got the telegram, right? The factory is burnt. This telegram was, right? There was a telegram saying factory is burnt, and Prabhupada looked at that and smiled. Understood, Krishna has taken everything away from me. So eventually Prabhupada went as a poor man. This was arrangement of the Lord. So if you look from a material perspective, Prabhupada was defeated originally. Then he went, and Prabhupada wanted to preach this highest philosophy to the intelligentsia of America, but he was landed in the probably most abominable place. Think about it. So Prabhupada, whatever he expected, that didn't happen. So in other words, Prabhupada was challenged. And he was thinking, who am I living with? Isn't it? So much of challenges in the beginning days. And then Krishna gave everything. So this is complete dependency on Krishna. So the pure devotee is completely under the shelter of the Supreme Lord. And they can do anything for the pleasure of the Lord. And they will do anything for the pleasure of the Lord. Bhishma Dev, another classic example. He was in the opposite side to Krishna, and he's been criticized. At the same time, he was giving pleasure to the Lord. He was giving pleasure to the Lord. All his arrows were like flowers for the Lord. He was enjoying that chivalrous rasa. So the Virya rasa. So this is arrangement of the Lord. And to give that pleasure, even Bhishma was defeated, you can say. He had to part with the wrong party and has to be criticized for that. But still, he gave pleasure to the Supreme Lord. And the Lord is also happy to be defeated for his devotee. This is the loving exchange. Here the devotee is happy to be defeated for the Lord, and at the same time the Lord is also happy to be defeated by the devotee. The same pastime, Bhishma's pastime. Isn't it? Krishna had already taken the promise that he will not take the weapon. But he gave up his promise for his devotee. Krishna is glorified as Ranchorai, isn't it? Why? He ran away in fight with Jarasandha. He could have easily defeated, but in between the fight, he just ran away. For whom? For whom? There was a reason. Not much. For whom? For a great devotee of the Lord. He had to deal something urgently. Which devotee? Exactly, isn't it? It was the time up. The time up. Otherwise, Shishupal is going to marry Rukmini. Right? Shishupal, right? Shishupal wanted to marry. And Rukmini knew. Went to the Durga temple. And she had already orchestrated the kidnapping. Being a Kshatriya woman, she's a princess, she knew what to do. She strategized, sent already a Brahmana with the letter to Krishna. So Krishna got the letter, understood. Let Jarasandha be here, let me go, let me finish my business. He went and straight away kidnapped Rukmini. And that also like a fun. Rukmini was driving the chariot because all the kings were fighting. And what did Krishna do? Krishna didn't want to go too fast. Slowly, so the others can catch up and can fight and then move on, so he can enjoy his pastime. So this is Krishna. So Krishna is also happy to be defeated for the sake of his devotees. And Krishna is glorified for that. So this is the sweet exchange between the Supreme Lord and his devotees. And for us, we are not under the Mahamaya potency of the Lord. Sorry, Yogamaya potency of the Lord. Mahamaya plenty, is there? Yogamaya? No. The one devotee asked me whether the Sadhakas are under Yogamaya potency. No, the Sadhakas are not under Yogamaya potency. That is what Siddhas, Yogamaya. Those who are perfected, Yogamaya potency is there. Because by the influence of the Yogamaya potency, at the end, love for Krishna will increase. But by the influence of Mahamaya potency, attraction for Krishna decreases. There is a challenge. This is the difference between Yogamaya and Mahamaya. For pure devotees, Yogamaya is applicable here also in the material world. But for us, it is Mahamaya. And so, we had to be very careful. That is one point. Second point is, when we can act in Krishna consciousness, we can try our best in Krishna consciousness, or at least we can try. Best we don't know, at least we can try in our Krishna consciousness. At the same time, we have to accept the will of Krishna. So for us, it is not Yogamaya directly, but it is the will of Krishna. It's the hand of Krishna. That is the proper way of saying it. So we may try in our devotional life. So we are devotees. So we can say even in our material life, the things we are dealing, it is not completely material. Because we have to work, maybe do business, maybe study, family, etc. So many things are there. They are not just material for a devotee, because devotees are dealing with devotees in family. And Krishna is the maintainer. So ultimately we are dealing with Krishna's energies, and we are dealing with Krishna's hands inside the temple and outside of the temple. So in our Krishna consciousness, we may try to avoid something a lot, but we may not be able to avoid. Similarly, we may desire something, but we may not get it. So we have to be ready to accept it as hand of Krishna, as will of Krishna. It is very important for our devotees as we are moving on in our devotional life. Because if we get very much hung up with that, then devotional life will be difficult. So we need to accept the hand of Krishna. We need to accept the will of Krishna. It happens in our services. It happens in our personal life. That can be called as material, but it's not really material. There is hand of Krishna. So we have to accept the will of Krishna. It is very important. And that's the reason it is mentioned that for a devotee who is sincerely chanting, following regulative principles, got initiated in the process of bhajana kriya, it is not karma that is acting. Yes, there is a layer of karma, but there is Krishna behind that karma. And so, Krishna is thinking, what shall I give? Shall I give the exact quota, or shall I give a little bit more? It can be good or bad. Do you want a little bit more? I can give a little bit more. Or shall I remove a little bit? Shall I give a little less? So Krishna is customizing the karma for his devotees. Customizing the karma. For what purpose? So that we can go back to Godhead. If we are complacent, Krishna can give us a kick. Or a pinch. Get up. Don't sleep. So this is Krishna. So in a devotee's life, there is direct hands of Krishna. So this is not Mahamaya, this is not Yogamaya directly, but it is the hand of Krishna. And this is very important, and devotees will have to recognize this. So as we move on in our devotional life, we can see what is hand of Krishna. What is Krishna telling me? Especially if something happens in our life, we need to think, reflect and see what is Krishna trying to tell me. Certain things we try to do repeatedly, but it will not work. And then we had to be relaxed. Okay, here Krishna is trying to teach me something. And be okay with that. And move on. Learn from that and move on in devotional life. So if you see our life as being orchestrated by Krishna, within that we are doing our foolishness. If you see that, it's much easier to move on. It's not only hands of Krishna, we have to see, I have done foolishness, right? I have made bad decisions. That's not Krishna's hand. Krishna has given opportunities, but I haven't used it properly. So here, the greatest opportunity that Krishna gives, what is that? Do you know what is the greatest opportunity? Devotees. Yes, it's in the devotee association. That is the greatest gift, of course. But in the devotee association, what is the greatest gift that Krishna gives? Exactly, service. So our objective is service. Seva. Seva is the objective. So that is the gift of Krishna. So if you want to see what is the gift that Krishna has given, see the service opportunities. Then we can see, okay, this is a gift given by Krishna. And then we can take that opportunity. If you see it as a gift of Krishna, then we value our service. And it is very important to have the right consciousness even while performing service. Very important point. It is, even if you are serving full time, but if you do that service, okay, of the 8 hours, if you are doing, assume I am doing 6 hour service. 1 hour service, if you are doing grudgingly, not good. It is better to do 1 hour service with full heart. Very important point. So this is an important point to be understood by everyone, especially if you are an ashram resident, for example. Pretty much the whole thing is service. The ashram residents have to be very careful that the service we are doing is with proper attitude. Why? Otherwise it is better don't be in the brahmacharya ashram or live outside and do the service with right attitude. Maybe 2 hours in a week. That is more pleasing than if you do grudgingly 6 hours a day. So we have to be very careful about our mentality. Why? Because Krishna is seeing it. Because we are dealing with the greatest gift, which is devotional service. This point came again and again. There have been many other spiritual movements as well as even other Vaishnavas also preached Krishna consciousness, not necessarily in America, even in India and different places. But Srila Prabhupada was very successful because of one reason. Of course, he easily gave accessible philosophy, that is one reason. But more than that, Prabhupada was able to give service. Prabhupada was able to engage everyone in service. Because with that service, we can get purified, we can get realization. I was speaking to a devotee, a spiritual master, who is preaching in China, and he was mentioning one interesting point, that many of the devotees are studying a lot, especially because they don't have a lot of association and there are not so much of opportunities for service. So they are taking this course, devotional courses, okay, Bhagavad Gita course, the Nectar of Instruction, this course, that course. So many courses they are doing, but that is insufficient. So he was telling very interesting point. This was Dasa Prabhupada was mentioning a point. If Mataji is making 100 garlands a day, most of the problems are gone automatically, he was mentioning. In other words, we are busy in service, we get realization, and many of the mental anxieties and many of the troubles will be automatically gone away. Can you imagine? It's very important. So the service is so important. Of course, it has to be balanced with study of Shastra, but study of Shastra in itself is insufficient. That is insufficient. Needs service. So when we have service, then we are grounded. We feel peaceful. Prabhupada said, why there are so many projects? Prabhupada said, you people are in passion. He was telling his devotees in America, you people are in passion. If I ask you, go under a tree and chant 64 rounds every day, we will stop practice altogether. Rather, if you are engaged in service, in projects, then we'll be engaged and we'll get purified and we'll get qualification to chant. So this is very important for us to understand. So for as devotees, we had to be mindful of the attitude that we have in serving Krishna, and we had to be watchful the hands of Krishna in our life, which is very important. And then we can appreciate how Krishna is helping in our life on a day-to-day basis. And here, Lord Shiva, even though he was thoroughly embarrassed in one sense, but he was not. He went through that situation, but he was not embarrassed nor ashamed. Rather, his love for Krishna increased. For that, he is being glorified. So, I stop here and see if there are any questions or comments. Yes. Microphone is on.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
It was a nice class. Can we do Prabhupada Brahma? He is a pure devotee and he cannot be under the spell of Maya. So we've heard in lectures that those who are celibate from birth, they go to Brahma Loka. So how come, like Brahma, who is a pure devotee, he has people in his planet which are not pure, and will those people ever be able to perform devotional service and ultimately go back to God and back to Loka?
So generally, those who are in Brahma Loka are perfected sannyasis, and if they are brahmacharis, they can go to Tapoloka. So here, the Brahmaloka devotees, they are advanced devotees, and what they do in the Brahmaloka is devotional service. And since we have Lord Brahma as a pure devotee, they can also practice pure devotional service, perfect, and can go back home, back to Godhead at the end of Brahma's life, which takes a while. That's all. So they also get perfected. So that's the reason it is mentioned. There are two portals to the spiritual world, generally speaking. One is Bhuloka and another one is Brahmaloka, Satyaloka. These are the two portals to the spiritual world. But one takes very long time. And to get there, extremely difficult. We are struggling to chant 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra 100 lifetimes perfected varnashram. Impossible to practice. So even going there is much more difficult than going back home, back to Godhead. Actually, it's a very interesting point that actually spiritual life is easier than material life. We think that spiritual life is more difficult than material life. But that's not the case. In all respects, spiritual life is simpler. Our mind makes it complicated, that's all. Isn't it? Thank you. Hare Krishna. Alright. Yes.
So here we see how Lord Shiva he falls to the temptation. Of course, this is in case of Yoga Maya, but for us, we fall to our temptations, which is not Yoga Maya. But then there is slight window where we have the choice.
Yes.
To fall or not.
That's right.
So it's almost like everything that we might have studied or read, that it's very little time to really bring everything to the front and really save yourself from falling prey to the temptations. So how do we prepare for that temptation and how we protect ourselves?
Yes. So there are different levels of temptations. On one level, externally, at least we should be able to control. As devotees, external temptations which can be degrading, we have to control. There is no other choice. We have to control ourselves. It becomes more difficult when we become internal temptations. Internal is more difficult. Desire for many things internal, that is more difficult than external. So first we have to practice external temptation. How can we resist external temptations? It depends on if you tell exact temptation, we can discuss further, but it depends on the temptation. And for that, generally prayers are very important. If there is a temptation, philosophy may not work, but prayer can work. Because yes, philosophy is also spiritual, prayer is also spiritual. But philosophy works on the platform of intelligence. So there can be a support of philosophy, but the temptations are not on the platform of intelligence. Temptations are generally on the platform of the mind. Isn't it? Mind is pulling us so strongly. So temptations are on the platform of the mind. So we can think about a bit of philosophy, it can help, but many times that may be insufficient. And so it has to be augmented by prayers, because prayers are from the heart, in the sense we are using emotions to connect to Krishna. So that is prayer. So definitely we need to pray to Krishna. So if we prepare means how we can, at the time of need, how can we at least call Krishna? I need your help. We don't have to remember all the prayers of the demigods or Brahma. At least pray to Krishna, please help me. So that sincerity is our responsibility. It takes some sincerity at that point in time, isn't it? It takes sincerity. When we are, under the temptation, then that sincerity is our responsibility. That we can only pray for that. There are no techniques. There is no technique. Then, of course, as we sincerely perform devotional service, we get more strength to deal with that. That is even more strength even to pray. From a prayer which is non-sincere to sincere. We know we have to pray. We will pray which is not so sincere. So that is an upward growth journey which is required. A most difficult situation is the prayer. Giving to Krishna, that is the only hope, that is the only way. So philosophy can help to do that. Okay, do it. Whether feel it or not, just do it. Then Krishna will help. Okay. Alright. So good? Thank you. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.